Hello everyone, can you hear me? This is just a test if you can hear me and if you can see the screen with Google Maps. Can you confirm? Can you hear me? Ah, okay, yes, you said yes. Okay. Okay, we'll start in a minute. I'm just checking a couple of settings. I'm very, very excited for this new format of the live. Seriously, guys. Okay, already lots of locations. I'm very, very curious, and I also have the locations from the members of the channel, the great community of the Italian diaspora. Actually, if you guys are interested in joining for a very, very, very reasonable price, just 199 per month, the amazing community of the Italian diaspora, which I think is unique. I think is absolutely unique in the YouTube world. You can, I mean, you can do it for again a very, very reasonable price. Now, this is my first time. Like, this is not my first live, but this is my first time using a streaming setup. So I hope everything is gonna be flawless, let's say. And as always, I'm sorry for my English. I'm not mother tongue. I will do my best so that you guys can understand me very, very clearly. And so if you don't, please interrupt me in the chat anytime you can. Okay. First of all, I want to start with a couple of locations that were sent by the members of the channel. The first one is I want to start with a dear member of the channel that I actually also met in person here in Rome, which is Bo Bird. I don't know if Bo is already here. I don't think so. So I'll wait a little bit. But there are even many other I can check. For example, let's start with Southern Italy. Let's start with Southern Italy because I think most of you guys in the chat are Italian American. And as I always say uh, in many videos and during the lives, the vast majority of Italian Americans, differently from from Italian, Argentine, Italian Brazilians, are originally from Southern Italy. And I also said in a video that I will link in the description because I think is very interesting for you guys if you haven't watched it that yet, is that the great 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 majority of the Italian diaspora all across the world, regardless whether it was in South America, North America, Australia, Europe, came from very small villages. Very rarely people came from big cities. The immigration of Italians was overwhelmingly more from small villages. I actually want to join to share this video with you guys. So just give me 1 second, because I don't think everyone among you guys saw it, and I think I've been very interesting for you because I explain why you guys originally came from very, very small villages. Okay, share link. 1 second. Can't share, I don't know why. Doesn't matter, I'll do it later. I don't wanna lose the pace. Okay, let's start with the first one, which is actually very, very interesting. I, Catherine, me, originally comes from the very interesting. This is actually not exactly a village, it's more of a small city, which is Melfi in Basilicata region. So let's yeah, this is the beautiful village of Melfi in the middle of the Apennine Mountains in southern Italy. Is the region in which this city actually is called now Basilicata. But guys, you have to remember that Italian regions, as we know them today, are very recent. They were made in the 1970, when 1970s, when 99% of the Italian diaspora arrived in the various parts of the world. The Italian regions were completely different. There were small regions which were more um, let's say, more similar to the actual environment and history of those places, because today's regions of Italy, I should actually make a video about this. Today's regions of Italy have some borders that absolutely do not fit into the linguistic and cultural life of those cities and regions. They're more of a political boundary than an actually cultural and social real boundary that reflects the history of those places. And one of these cases is Basilicata, which is a region created in the 1970s, but it actually doesn't exist in real life. There is not a specific accent from Basilicata. There is not a specific identity from Basilicata, because this area of Italy was part of an historical region of Italy tracing back to the ancient Roman times, which was called Sannio, where a very ancient Italic tribe that fought and lost against the Romans lived for centuries. But this is just an example to tell you guys that when your great great grandparents migrated, the political reality of Italy in terms of boundaries, borders, and regions was completely different. Speaking about Melfi, specifically about Melfi, this is very interesting for two reasons. Melfi was one of the many um, villages in this area of southern Italy that was a Norman a Viking settlement. I told you guys many times that some parts of southern Italy were conquered and ruled by the Normans, the Vikings, for centuries during the Middle Ages. And in Melfi, you can see it in the pictures on the left. There is also a beautiful Viking castle, Norman castle, and there were many across southern Italy. Melfi is also very famous in Italy because there is a big car manufacture power plant. Fiat, the biggest Italian brand when it comes to cars, have a big plant in Melfi. Melfi, let's see if I can find it. Fiat, yeah, here you have it. Here, it's not exactly in Melfi, but is in the outskirts. This is a very, very big plant. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Many thank you, Philip, for joining. Thank you so much. So Catherine, I hope you appreciated my explanation. I hope it was enough. There will be so many things to say, but I have to I mean to divide for many people. So okay, Octavio Risso 97. Octavio, there are many things that make me think that you are not Italian American, but you are Latin American. Confirm if I'm wrong or right, because first of all, Risso is a very Northern Italian last name. Octavio is a Spanish name, and most importantly, all the cities you are mentioning, um, all the villages you're mentioning are in the north of Italy, which means, Octavio, let's see if you answered. Not yet. Yeah, you are, of course, you are Argentine. As most of the Argentines who migrated, who are of Italian origin, you are originally not from southern Italy, like Italian Americans, but from northern Italy. So you have Valenzona, Genoa, which actually is a big city. It's rare, again, to have big cities in the Italian migration. Budrio and Tolentino, which is kind of in the center of Italy. Let's start with the Budrio, which is interesting because it's in the far north of Italy, completely different regions. Yeah, Budrio is a very small city in the Po Valley, in the outskirts of a very important city in northern Italy, probably the capital of northern Italian food, which is Bologna. As most of northern Italian cities, Budrio is completely flat because the Po Valley is one of the biggest plains in Europe. And so this is a typical village in the Po Valley, which was born as a agricultural town, so surrounded by fields and again agricultural fields, livestock, and so on. Budrio is also famous because some important Italian intellectuals came from this small city in the outskirts of Bologna. Then you have Tolentino, which is interesting, the second one. Tolentino. Okay, Tolentino is a very beautiful city where many important battles during the Middle Ages were fought in the region of Marche in Italy. You remember when I told you that Italian regions were basically made up in the 1970s with no actual legit connection to the history and the culture of those specific territory? Marche region is the perfect example because actually Marche is another region that exists on paper, but in reality is divided between this part where Tolentino, for example, is, which is in central Italy and whose dialects and accents are connected to central Italy. They're actually not far away. They're different, but not so different from the dialect that I speak in Rome, if you can see my mouse moving, while the northern part of Le Marche region is north of Ancona, north of the Metauro River, so the northern part of Le Marche region is complete, despite being in the same region, is completely different because it's culturally part of northern Italy. Actually, guys, you have to imagine that. Let's see if I can draw a line. Yeah. Okay. Imagine you see this white line that I'm drawing. Basically, north of this line, people start speaking in northern dialects of Italy, which are completely different in phonetic terms from what I speak in Rome, so central Italy, and what people speak in the entire southern Italy. This is a very important, it's called in linguistic terms isoglots. In Latin is isoglossa. I don't know exactly in English, but basically this is a linguistic border that cuts the entire Italian peninsula, doing like this from what the heck? Yeah, from here to the city of La Spezia on the Tyrrhenian coast. So basically, exactly north of this line, you have northern Italian dialects and accents which are completely different, and this is the reason why, for example, Italian Brazilians and Italian Argentine also learn the Spanish so well and so quickly, because the Spanish and Portuguese are more similar to these northern Italian dialects than these northern Italian dialects are phonetically similar to what people speak in Florence or in Rome. So this is a very important line. North of this, northern accents and dialects. South of this, central and southern accents. Standard Italian language, being from Florence, is a central Italian dialect. Okay, this is like a very important point. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rocco, for your donation. Thank you so much. Now let's go on. The Bib 123, interesting, because Bib is originally from Forio, which is, here you have it, which is one of the many villages that compose the beautiful island of Ischia, which is an amazing island in the Tyrrhenian Sea in the Neapolitan Gulf. This, in my opinion, is by far one of the most beautiful parts of Italy. For sure, this is the Amalfi Coast, and this is the Neapolitan Gulf, where you have these amazing islands, Ischia, Procida, Capri, which is the most beautiful and most exclusive. There are many Italian Americans who migrated from Ischia. Ischia is a beautiful island with the thermal waters, beautiful beaches. The problem of this island that I know quite well, because I went there like 4 or 5 times in my lifetime, is that in this island, as you can see just looking at the topography, there are way too many houses. Like people built houses illegally everywhere, literally everywhere, in a territory that is very fragile. This was a volcano, is very, very fragile and is strongly at risk of landslides that happen very, very often, and many people died and their houses were destroyed by these landslides. So Ischia is beautiful, but it's very, very, very overcrowded, and unfortunately, as in many other parts of southern Italy, the landscape has been partially ruined by the fact that people um, um, built too many houses illegally in places where they were not supposed to be, to build houses, as it is in Naples. You can see that the Vesuvius is surrounded by houses that should never, ever, ever be there. Okay. um, Thank you so much to, I lost who did the donation. Yeah, uh, uh, JG Bocuzzi, thank you so much. Okay, now who do we have? Now we have Ron Pulser, Gibizzano. I don't know where this place is, but the name doesn't sound Southern Italia. Let's see if I'm wrong. Yeah, is in fact not in Southern Italy, but is in Tuscany, is in northern. Yeah, is exactly. This is a phenomenal place for my topic of changing dialects, because this village is in the Tuscan Apennine. So basically, this is Tuscany. This is Tuscany, but the very, very northern tip of Tuscany, so north of the beautiful city of Lucca, is already in the northern Italian linguistic family. So people here talk immensely different from people here. I know it's crazy, but for us Italians, you immediately hear the difference. If you guys don't know, the reason why people here speak so differently from people here and people here is because before the Roman conquest of northern Italy, this entire part of the Italian peninsula, so north of the Apennine Mountains, were inhabited by Celtic tribes, the Gauls. And so, even if Romans conquered everything, and Latin was imposed on every part of the Italian peninsula and even further, the Celtic substrate is still there after 3,000 years. So these people, not 3,000, 2,500 years. So these people don't speak Celtic languages anymore, but the phonetics are still there as they are in France, in Spain, and in Portugal, because all these places were originally inhabited by Celtic tribes. So here in northern Italy, again, the accents and the dialects are incredibly different. So this uh, tiny village in the Tuscan Apennines, in fact, the name, I don't want to go too technical, but the name tells me that this is a northern Italian name, because this G, this is a voice consonant, which is typical of the Celtic substrate. So how the Gauls, the Celtic people, spoke 200 years ago. And so every name of northern Italian cities, with very few exceptions, have these voiced consonants like G instead of K, which is not voiced and is typical of central and southern cities, or for example, B instead of P, because of the Celtic conquest. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I doubt it, because it's a very technical thing, but I think it's interesting. Okay, Venefica is from actually very big cities, Avellino and Palermo. Palermo, I mean, I don't even know what is one of my favorite cities in Italy. Is the cities of Italy that I know the most after Rome. So I mean, this is not I don't even know what to say. It's a beautiful city. It's the regional capital of Sicily. So and Palermo, despite being a big city, had a decent amount of emigration, especially toward the United States. Avellino is not a big city, but it is a city, not a village. Is a beautiful small city in the Apennines, but you know that the Apennines, guys, are these. This map is not perfect to show mountains, but the Apennines are this mountain chain that starts in Sicily, goes through Calabria, Campania, Tuscany, Umbria, Liguria, and then connects to the Alps. Okay, so here in these parts of the Apennines, just to let you understand, here you have Naples, okay, but the dialect is very different from the mountains to the sea, even if it belongs to the same broad linguistic family. This is a beautiful city, another city that was ruled for many centuries by the Normans, the Vikings. And actually, as in most of the Apennine chain, these cities are extremely, extremely, extremely at risk of very strong earthquakes. In fact, this entire area here, because this historical region called Irpinia, again, Italian regions of today are a complete invention. Avellino now is in the same region as Napoli. This region is called Campania, but historically, the real Campania was only this one, was called Campania Felix, the happy countryside. This is the way the Romans called this area because it was the most prestigious and most rich and most fertile part of the Roman Empire. So it was called Campania Felix, happy countryside. This was a completely different thing, completely. But in the 1970s, it was united with the coastal part of Campania. But in 1980, this entire historical region, known as Irpinia, was completely destroyed by a very strong earthquake. This entire part of Italy, all these mountains here, are very, very at risk of very strong earthquakes because these mountains here are very, very young, and the entire Italian peninsula, the tectonic plaque of the Italian peninsula is pushed east toward Albania, creating very strong earthquakes. Let's see. Thank you so much, guys, for donating. I have to immediately go to my beloved member, Bernard Coletta. I noted that you are from many interesting cities. You are from Udine, so a rare case of an Italian American from the far northeast of Italy. Okay, here we are. This is the beginning of the Po Valley, because here then you have the mountain chain of the Dolomiti, which is the eastern part of the Alps. And Udine is a very nice city in the far northeast of Italy. Just to let you understand, here you have Slovenia. Okay, this is Slovenia. This part here, and here you have the Adriatic coast. And this part has always been a cross-border region between, let's say, Latin Italic people and Slavic people here and Germanic people here. So here in this part of Italy, also historically, this area has switched between the Roman Empire, many other things, then Italy, then Yugoslavia, then Slovenia. Like the history here is really, really, really complicated. That there would be a lot of things to say, but in general, in this area of Italy, there are strong influences of non-Italic people. Again, like the Slavic people here and the Germanic people, in particular Austria, that ruled over this part of Italy for like 3 centuries during the modern age, from the 17th to 19th century. So this here you have, even in the food, in the way they speak, in many other things, you see that people have an influence from other culture, which is very, very interesting. The other one that Bernard told me is Fondi, which is very interesting because it's near Rome. Okay. Fondi, guys, should be here. Can see, because I know where it is, but it doesn't pop up. I don't know why. It should be literally here. Why doesn't it pop up? Yeah, here you have it. Okay. Okay. Here we are, guys. Another fantastic example, fantastic, phenomenal example of regions invented 40 years ago with no connection with reality. Here we are in the southern coast of the Lazio region, which is the region of Rome, which is more or less like this. You can see the borders. This it's not easy, but you should clearly, in theory, see the borders here. Okay, guys, so here we are in the southern part of the region of Rome. Many people of Rome have vacation houses here in this coast here. Okay, guys, Circeo, Terracina, Sperlonga, Fondi, Formia, Gaeta. Okay, now the first thing to say is that all this part here, before the advent of fascism in the 1920s, this was a gigantic swamp. There was nothing here. Only the small towns, let's say, in the mountains were originally there before fascism, because during fascism, this entire swamp was drained, and a very big and important artificial agriculture, you can see it that this is artificial, a very important artificial agricultural plain was created. So here now most of the vegetables, fruit, and dairies that arrive to Rome, they are cultivated here in this agricultural plain that was created out of a swamp during fascism. The thing is that most of the people that are here, maybe they were born here, but they're not from here, because Benito Mussolini, in order to provide workers to dry this swamp, bring people here from a very distant region of Italy, from Veneto and Friuli. So people from here migrated in this part here. So I know many people in this area that were born here, but their blood and their culture is from the northeast, from Veneto. In fact, there are many places, I don't want to go too much in details, but there are many places who still have Venetian names, which are very different from the names that you are supposed to see here, like Borgo Grappa, because Grappa is a famous alcoholic beverage in Veneto, and since all the Venetians were brought here, they started their let's say, their cultivation of this specific um, uh, grape. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to tell you, Berner, and to all my viewers, is that even if this part of this part here is in the Lazio region, culturally, the people who were here before Mussolini came, they were already in the linguistic influence of Naples. So people here tend to speak a dialect much closer to um, Neapolitan than to Roman, because of the fact that before 1970s, this part here, actually Gaeta, this city was the border, but this entire part here was part of the, sorry, I hate this freaking thing. This part was part of, okay, I can't, I'll do it with them. Okay. Like south of this, it was the kingdom of Naples. So this area here was part of Naples, and people even today still speak a dialect that is much closer to Neapolitan than to Roman. I hope, Bernard, I gave you enough details about this. Then we have, sorry, we have so many people. Who do we have? We have Lando Bando 95, Fontana Fredda, which means cold fountain. I don't know where this is, honestly. Fontana Fredda. Yeah, no. Fontana Fredda is actually very close to the place we were discussing a minute ago. So it is in the mountains, so this was here way before the swamp was drained. Look at how small it is. It's in the province of Caserta, north of Naples. So, but this is already in the Campania region. You can see that this is the border between Lazio region, which is the region of Rome, and Campania region, which is the region of Naples. Let's go on. Castel del Monte. I know this place because my great grandfather was from, no, my grandfather was from Abruzzo, not this place, but I know Castel del Monte. Okay, Castel del Monte is a very, very, very small village in the exact center of Italy. Here we are in the Gran Sasso area. Basically, the Gran Sasso is the top, is one of the highest mountains in Italy. Outside of the Alps is the highest, and so here you are in actually high mountain. People can ski here, and it's like a plateau. It's like a plateau. You are very high, but you feel like you are on a plane. I don't remember how to say this name. I think it's plateau. Yeah, plateau. I was right. And yeah, there are many, many small villages where people go skiing. Many people from Rome and from Naples go skiing there in this area in winter because the Alps are very far away. The Alps are more for people from Milan, from Turin, from Genoa, but most of the times people from Rome go there, or from Naples, because it's closer. This is another area incredibly sensitive to earthquakes, and in fact in 2009 this entire area near the regional capital L'Aquila was destroyed by a very, very, very strong earthquake. I remember it because I was 20, and I remember many people died, unfortunately. Then we have Pels 94, you are from two very different villages. Maddaloni is quite easy, is north of Naples here. This is part of that. This is interesting. Let me drink. This is part of something that I mentioned before, the so-called Campania Felix. This was and still is one of the most fertile and beautiful lands in Italy. The Romans were crazy for this area of Italy, but and it's so fertile because of the Vesuvium, okay? Vesuvius. But there is a huge but. Unfortunately, Maddaloni, Caserta, Capodrise, Marcianise, all this area here now, unfortunately, is one of the most mob intensive areas in Italy. There is a very, very strong and active mafia called the Casalesi. Basically, this mafia is specialized in putting chemicals and radioactive waste underground beneath the agricultural fields causing tremendous now it has decreased, but unfortunately because police caught them, but the damage has already been done. So basically beneath these very fertile agricultural fields from which mozzarella di bufala, pomodori, and many other beautiful things come, it's all is devastated by radioactive waste and burned waste. So the air is terrible. Here there is many people very there is an incidence of cancer much higher than in the rest of Italy because people burned this waste without caring of the health of the people, and also because most of the soil is poisoned basically forever. Okay, so this is a very sad story. In Italy, this is a very famous topic. Now we think they mostly stopped, but again, the damage unfortunately has already been done. The city is still a beautiful city and nothing wrong with it. Unfortunately, this area is one of the capitals of the Camorra, which is the mafia typical of this area of Italy. Um, um, then you are from Santa Margherita Ligure, also, which is on a completely different side. Santa Margherita Ligure is in Liguria, which is a beautiful small coastal region of Italy. I don't remember exactly where it is. Yeah, here you have it. Okay, this is a typical village. You can see also in the picture. It's very similar to Portofino. Liguria is like that. Is a strip of land between the mountains and the sea. Is a beautiful, beautiful region. It is a nightmare, meaning that there is a lot of rain, there are a lot of landslides, there are a lot of mountains, a lot of hills and downhills. So it's not a comfortable place because of the topography. But if you're rich and you have a beautiful, if you're rich and you have a beautiful house, a sea house here or in Portofino or whatever, these villages are amazing because these are originally fisher towns that became then exclusive in the 1960s, 60s, 1970s, and now these are places for very, very rich people. Liguria has also a very sad record in Italy. Is the oldest region of Italy, meaning the average age of the people is approaching 60 years old. So basically, in general, people who follow me know that I always talk about this. Italy, unfortunately, is one of the oldest countries in the world with a demographic collapse every year is worse, and Liguria is the worst of the worst, which is Italy in general. Then we have that's interesting. This ink penification. Okay, I don't want to know why you have this nickname, but actually this is interesting. You are Arbëreshë. Now, Arbëreshë is very interesting. There are some towns in Calabria and in Puglia in particular where people migrated from Albania during the Middle Ages, and because these villages were very isolated in the mountains of the Apennines, these people still speak Arbëreshë, which is this dialect of the Albanian language. I met some people coming from these villages that still speak that language, but be careful because that people did not emigrate from Albania 100 years ago. We're talking about 1,000 years ago, but they still speak the Albanian language. Thank you guys, everyone, for the donations. I don't want to skip anyone, but I have to go to. Oh my god, there are so many guys. It's impossible because I have to put my kids to bed. Maybe we can do we will for sure do a second episode because I see that you guys are interested in this topic. So I promise that the people that I'm not gonna do because I have no time, that I have to again put my kids to bed, we will do next week or in 2 weeks another episode. I promise 100%. Where were we? Naples. I talk a lot about Naples. Grace is a long time subscriber. Hello, Grace. You are from a beautiful village, which is Ari in Abruzzo. This is very very close to where my grandfather was born. Okay, these are the the mountains. We're still in the famous Apennine region. These are the mountains that slowly, sorry, I don't know if I'm using the right verb, they're sloping onto the Adriatic coast. And so already from these places, you can see the sea normally. Probably not from Ari, but already if you go like here, you can see the coast. I know very, very well this beautiful region of Italy, which is called Abruzzo, which is in central Italy, guys. But historically, this was part of the kingdom of Naples. In fact, my grandfather was born. Let me. I can find it. Can find it 1 second. Yeah, here you have it. My father was born in this beautiful village. My grandfather, called Civitella del Tronto, is widely considered one of the most beautiful, and we have many, but one of the most beautiful small villages in the entire country, where you have this big fortress. This was the northernmost border of the kingdom of the two Sicily. Okay, so the kingdom of the two Sicilies included the entire southern Italy and Sicily, and this was the northernmost border. So, in fact, even if Abruzzo is not in southern Italy, because it was part of the southern kingdom, the culture here is very southern, despite not being in southern Italy. Um, um, okay, LBJ, are you from the Lake Maggiore? Are you Italian American? It would be unlikely because Monvalle is in the far, far north of Italy. This is the Lago Maggiore. Okay, so this is the border with Switzerland. So this is Varese, one of the richest towns in Italy. And so this area is in the far, far north of Italy. And most of the people who migrated from this area here went to Argentina, the vast majority of them. So it's very rare to see these people here um, in the US. It's not impossible because there was a minority, but it's very, very rare. And these are normally beautiful towns on the lake. They were not rich towns back in the day. Now many people, American movie stars and whatever, buy houses on the Lago Maggiore, the Lago di Como, like George Clooney and other people, because now they're considered very, very, very exclusive. And again, Switzerland is here, literally here, but in this part of Switzerland called Canton Ticino and Cantone dei Grigioni, they still speak Italian. They are Swiss, but cultural Italian, and they speak Italian. They have their TV in Italian, their university in Italian, and so on. Let's go to Sicily. Nizza di Sicilia and Piana Desiree Gambino is like the perfect Sicilian last name. It's very, 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 very common in the northern coast of Sicily, where you're from. Nizza di Sicilia. Yeah. Yeah, you are from okay. Okay, this is a beautiful piece of coast. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece of coast. This is the eastern coast of Sicily. You have Taormina here, which is widely considered one of the, I would say, in the world, but I don't want to insult anyone else in other countries. This is one of the most beautiful pieces of coast in Italy. Taormina is an ancient Greek city, and all the cities here are very, very beautiful. And the sea is amazing. Is dark blue. It's not like Caribbean, but in a way that is amazing. And you see Calabria. You have because this is the Messina Strait that I know very, 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 very well, because with the ferry I've crossed this piece of sea like 100 times. And so here you have a nice beach, and you have this beautiful view on Calabria. I love this part of Italy. Yes, it's one of the poorest, but still I think it's amazing. The landscape, the culture. I feel very connected to this part of the country. My other grandparent, my other grandfather, which died when I was very, very young, differently from the other that I was very connected to and died when I was 27. He was from this area here. Piana dei Greci also is interesting. To tell you something, guys. Piana dei Greci. Yeah. Okay. Piana degli Albanesi, Piana dei Greci. Here there are the Sicily far from the sea is very rough. it's dry, it's hot in summer, it's cold in winter. The land is not fertile, it's very difficult to do agriculture. You are isolated, roads are terrible, but still, some villages are very, very, very beautiful. Many of them were some, well, because Sicily was conquered by many different civilizations. So on the coast, most of the villages were of Greek and Roman and Carthaginians origin, while, for example, many in the uh, let's say in the mainland, in the inland, were, for example, from the Vikings that ruled on Sicily for 300 years. Okay. Um, um, well, it says, yeah, San Mango sul calories. No, okay, yeah, yeah, Jay Bocuzzi. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That earthquake destroyed everything. You're absolutely right. Um, oh my God, so many people. Glambank, you are from Ottawa. Glambank, you are from Siderno, which I know because is here. Again, also this sea here is beautiful. It's called Ionio. I don't know how to call it in English, honestly. And again, my grandfather was born literally very close from here in a small village here, and this is a beautiful piece of coast. But I have to say, despite I am a quarter from Calabria, I have to say that here you have the same problem that you have in Ischia. Most of the Calabrian coast was destroyed and ruined forever by the fact that people built houses everywhere. Many of these houses are not even finished because they were stopped by the police before they were finished. So, unfortunately, this is a beautiful coast, but some parts of this coast are ruined because there are too many houses. And that's very sad because Calabria is a beautiful, unique region where you have very high mountain here, where you have snow in winter, and beautiful coast and beautiful sea in summer. Calabria, which is unfortunately the poorest region of Italy, is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful by far. Then what do we have? We have so many. I don't know where to. Yeah, I'm reading a lot of interesting things. That's the village of Raffa. I've never heard of this village in Lombardia. Raffa, probably. Yeah, it does. Yeah, this is another in the province of Brescia. We are in northern Italy, in the Po Valley. We are 100 kilometers east of Milan, and this is another very nice town on the biggest lake in Italy, the Lago di Garda, which is again the biggest lake in Italy, very popular for summer vacations, for camping, and many other places. Now, this is a just a personal opinion. I prefer the sea, the southern Italian sea, the southern Italian beaches. So this is not my thing, but I'm not saying it's not beautiful. It's just that it's a personal taste. Okay, guys, in 2 minutes I'm closing the live because I have to put the kids to bed and my wife is gonna kill me. JHLFSC, bring the diaspora back in, we can fix the age problem. Yeah, I know that you know that I discussed this in many videos. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. The Italian government doesn't have the same idea, unfortunately. Are there a lot of German speakers in the far north near Swiss? No, the German speakers are here. For example, the number one tennis player in the world, Yannick Sinner, is, let's say, Italian, but his first language is German. I also, like, my first video on the channel was about this, actually. And I leave you a couple of videos in the description of the live. For example, the one that explains why most of you guys originally came from villages, not cities. But this is the part of Italy that was acquired after World War One, but people never merged into the Italian culture. They remained Austrian, and people here, 99% of people here speak German. Italian is a second language, and most of them, especially old people, they don't speak them well, and they don't speak them happily. They don't like Italians, they don't want to be part of it. They're part of it just because they have a lot of tax exemption. They pay very little taxes because they have like the linguistic thing, that you have to preserve the diversity, whatever. So they want to be in Italy just because they pay very, very little taxes, but they in general hate Italians. Not all of them. Sinner is actually from this place here, Sesto Pusteria. You see that, look at the names. You see that the names are all in German, and we are in Italy, okay? Because I think we can find the Sinner parents hotel. Yeah, here you have it. Yeah, this is where Sinner grew up, the number one tennis player. You see that everything is in German. Guys, I'll stop with the with the villages because I have no time. I have to leave, unfortunately. I am so sorry. No, I don't think they're gonna build the bridge in Sicily, J. Bocuzzi, because let's say the court stopped it. Let's see what happens. I know Amantea very well, JRC. Guys, I promise that we'll do another one next week, in 2 weeks, and we'll do all the villages that you didn't that you guys didn't that I didn't read because I had no time. I hope you enjoyed. I just want to finish reading all the chats. If there was something that, can you do another live like this? Of course, Judy, I will. Fernando Lopes, I have to pay a researcher or a genealogist about what? Maybe I lost your. Does the village of yeah, it still exists. I showed it, Fernando. I showed it. Ok. Ciao ragazzi. Thank you so much, and we'll see you very soon. And guys, just one other thing. Don't miss next Friday's live, because it's very interesting about the difference between Italian Americans and Italian Brazilians, Northern Italy, Southern Italy. I think it's going to be very, very interesting for you. And thank you so much, guys. Really, that was fun. See you very, very, very soon. Ciao, ragazzi.